Getting the Facebook Live up real quick before we start. Alrighty. Alright, now we get this underway. Alright, welcome back everyone to the first episode of the season of The Drive. I'm Nathan Beagle here, your host, bringing you the latest and greatest news and updates of the NFL and NBA. We're going to kick it off with not NFL, but the end of college football was yesterday as we saw the college football national championship play between the number one seed Georgia, Bulldogs, excuse me, and the number two Alabama Crimson Tide as they fell 18-33 in a pretty close match. The pretty most of the game. I'm pretty satisfied with this score. I really didn't. I wasn't really pushing for Alabama, so big shout out to Georgia for getting that win. But we are here talking NFL. So this past week was the first ever 18th extended game of the NFL in NFL history, and that just came to a close. So first, we're gonna start off just with a little recap of what happened this past week. We started off with some Thursday night football where it was pretty controversial at the end. Raiders took into overtime against the Chargers to determine who gets that AFC wildcard spot. And there was talks about it being they wanted a tie, and the coach called a timeout, and they went and kicked the field goal, ultimately send the Raiders um, to the playoffs instead of the Chargers, and that's how the Steelers are able to find their way into the playoffs. Ben Roethlisberger, final year, gets to go to the postseason. I know there's a lot of Chargers fans out there that are really, really upset about that, and I don't blame them. I kind of wanted to see Justin Herbert out here get his first playoff appearance, see all that, but that will get pushed back to another time as the season is over. Some other notable games that we see that happened um, this past week, excuse me, was that was my computer's tweaking right now. I'm sorry, but that was in the Sunday night game. Excuse me. Um, but we also saw the Colts and Jaguars come down. Colts have a pretty simple two-win team that must get the win into the playoffs, but they're unable to go down to Jacksonville and get the win. I know they haven't got a win in Jacksonville since I think it was 2014, and that streak's gonna continue on until next year as they failed to get a win against Trevor Lawrence in the Jaguars. They fall 11-26 and they fall short of the playoffs. That's just a hard loss for your Colts fan out there, especially with kind of year Jonathan Taylor's been up to in your first year with Carson Wentz to see all that's all been going out. Um, Obviously, weren't able to go get it this year, but um, hopefully, if Carson Wentz health can sustain and they're able to go out there and possibly make the postseason next year. But moving on, we move on to the 49ers playing the Rams. They went out to LA for a winner do or die situation to get in, and the 49ers able to sleep it out in overtime by game winning field goal by Robbie Gould. Great, great leg by my man Robbie. Good as gold. Um, just nice to see the three NFC West teams out there going and finding a spot in this playoff race that will be starting next weekend. But we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, that's pretty much some of the light update that we've seen this past year, or this past week, excuse me. Um, but come on, my phone's tweaking. Excuse me. All right, so yeah, moving on. We're gonna take a look at just basically a big, quick mini recap of what happened this year. Um, and as you know, yesterday was what to call, you know, it's the first Monday the after the season. So you see a lot of coaches let go. We saw at least four, yeah, four on Monday. The Vikings let go Jet Zimmer. The Dolphins surprisingly letting go of Brian Flores. The Bears let go Matt Nagy, and the Broncos let go of Vic Fangio. So there's some more open markets for some players such as Jim Harbaugh, who was thinking about possibly making a comeback to the NFL. Um, I know it's still very, very early for anyone to really sign, but there's just a lot of opportunities and a lot of open doors, especially for some of these like the Vikings and the Bears with such a lot of young um, talent coming up that it's good for them to have the opportunity to coach and develop such amazing young players like Justin Jefferson and Justin Fields. Um, just great straight raw talent out there, and we love to hear. Um, but yeah, that's just for the coaches getting fired or let go. And a lot also this year, and one of the big themes I feel like this year was a lot of records were broken, and I have just a small list of some of the things that have just happened. Justin Jefferson set the NFL record for most receptions in his first 2 years of a wide receiver's career, and fell just short of breaking Randy Moss's season record for the Vikings. Jonathan Taylor is now the all-time leading rusher for the Colts with 1,811 yards. Jalen Waddle from the Dolphins, he broke the rookie reception record that was previously held by Antoine Bolden and now has 104. Jamar Chase, who's been on a tear this season too, another rookie wide receiver from the Bengals, has broke Chad Ojocinco um, receiving record for the Bengals with 1440. TJ Watt ties Michael Strahan's sack record with 22 and a half. Cooper Kupp, he didn't break the he fell 18 yards short of Calvin Johnson's 2012 wide receiver record. Also with quarterback Matthew Stafford. So Matthew Stafford now has two of the most insane. He's the quarterback for the top two best receiving seasons in NFL history. So big shout out to Matthew Stafford there on his first year in the new team. But he is also the Rams all time, or not all time, first season, single season yards leader and receptions leader. Najee Harris passed Franco Harris as the rookie rushing record for the Steelers, helped them get into the playoffs. Dak Prescott and now has the Cowboys passing touchdown record. He passed Tony Romo and now has 37 touchdowns. And Robert Quinn of the Chicago Bears has now broke Richard Dent's 1984 sack record with now has 19. So that was just a short list. I know there was a couple other out there that I failed to mention, but it's there's just a lot of records that have been broken this year, a lot of history that has been made, um, and I'm for it. I love it. And one thing I noticed from most of these records, a lot of minus the Quinn and I guess you can say Dak Prescott really he's still young, but like all these other guys they're in there what second two rookies, second years. T.J. Watt's been there for 3 or 4 years, very young, a lot of young. Najee Harris rookie, um, very young, very up and coming talented players that we see now here, and it's just the tip of the iceberg for these young people. So I'm very excited to see what the NFL has to come. I really wanted Cooper Kupp to break that receiving record because it's just right there, and it's just one of those records that you really um, so it hasn't been touched or it has become in jeopardy of getting broken since Calvin Johnson was in the league. and now he just fell what ultimately could have been one pass to decide, you know, a record or not. But it just makes you think, looking back in the season, man, what if he caught that one pass, or if he would have caught just one more, two more passes, he'd be in the record books. But this is just the first year between Cups and Stafford, so maybe they'll build some more connections and maybe they'll have a chance to run it back and break that record. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think Cup has a chance to break that record, or do you think there's anybody else out in this league that has a chance to go out there and shatter Calvin Johnson's record, or will you think he'll stand? Do you think he'll ever be broken? Um, Me personally, with the amount of offensive talent that's in this league, and a rule system that seems pretty harsh against defenses, it's only a matter of time, I feel like, before it gets closed. Um, but yeah, those are the records broken this year. We saw a lot of good rookie play too. Like even outside of records, we saw a lot of young talent starting to prosper um, with Diggs and Parsons on the Cowboys, two great young defensive players out there for the Cowboys. Diggs leading the league in interceptions. I know we'll get to our awards later, but I know Parsons is in the running of Defensive Player of the Year, which would be the first time since LT, if he won this award, would be the only other player, joining LT, or not Daily Time, excuse me, Lawrence Taylor, to win this award as a rookie, which is very impressive that he's been up there with such intent, like of such one of the greatest linebackers in NFL history. He's already up there with those kind of numbers, so it makes me real excited to see what kind of future that this Cowboys has coming up. But with the end of the season, you go look back for reflections, and honestly, not everything always goes to expected when you look at you have such expectations, good and bad. So I'm going to tell you some of my season surprises that basically have happened over the year. One good and one bad surprise. We'll pick one NFC, one AFC. We'll always start with the good. For my good surprise, I chose the Cincinnati Bengals. They came out here, won their division with their second year, sophomore year. Joe Burrow out here leading the charge with breaking the Bengals another record there for passing yards. That was plays and touchdowns by Andy Dalton. They have 1,000-yard back in Joe Mixon. I feel like they just have this very versatile offense. They're also the only team in the NFL with multiple 1,000-yard receivers. It's just very depth on the offensive end and very young, talented people. Especially, I know this year's was tough because of COVID and some injuries to play there. So there's always backups playing in. My friend Riley Johnson called it at the beginning of the series. Said this was going to be the year of the backups, and as you see, it fully agree. Every week there it seemed like someone was in the up in the back, was a backup coming in and trying to prove themselves and see what they got. But it's definitely was the year of the backup as a way to sum it. And for that, due to a little injury too, we saw I personally had the Ravens winning the division this year. Due to those specific reasons, they fell. It was just so hard because they were off to such a great start. We saw Lamar out there balling, and then COVID strikes, and then they just not the same. And yeah, so the Bengals are my good surprise team. For the AFC, we'll go to the NFC. I chose the Rams with Matthew Stafford coming in, instantly upgrade from, wow, his name really got a brain fart for a second. Jared Goff, sorry. Instant upgrade from Jared Goff. And when you have these talented receivers, another reason that they pushed for the surprise is their front office was very aggressive this year, going out, getting Von Miller and Jalen Ramsey early on in the season. They traded a lot to get them, but it's just they have a pretty solid defense pairing up with Aaron Donald, and just insane, insane matchups. That defense is just built scary, and then when you have an insane offense on top of it, who even though they are without Robert Woods, who went down, I think it was with an ACL injury or mid-season. Despite that, they're out here still producing. Basically, that's I'm gonna get into that later, but um, for a minute there, for a second, they were leading their division. Again, a team that was red hot, like the Cardinals, who started out 7-0. Had a little Kyle Murray injury, and they lost three of their last four before bouncing back. It's just it was just hard for when you can't play to your full potential. But the Rams are definitely the great surprise of this season. Now we're going to go back and look at the bad surprises, the teams that just flopped, the teams that went down and just you don't know what, or it just wasn't expecting. Like I said, COVID and injuries this year is just plagued every team in the worst way possible. So, so my first off, my bad surprise, we can go staying um, in the AFC North. We'll go with the Cleveland Browns. They just not up to expectations. Baker Mayfield playing with that hurt shoulder just looked horrible in some cases. Whenever they would run the ball with Jordan Chubb, they would be productive. And then we saw games like the Packers where you threw four interceptions, three in the first half, and that's it's just hard to bounce from that. Yeah, I know you're injured, but there's a certain point where you have to take accountability to yourself and say like, yeah, I'm hurt. I can't help my team at all. Um, put in the backup. I think it was Chase Keenum or somebody productive. And when you lose Odell Beckham, that oh yeah, speaking of the Rams going to get Odell Beckham too. I don't know how that slipped my mind, but yeah, losing Odell in the past season, it's just hard. And the NFC, AFC North was very competitive this year. Steelers always find a way to like smuggle their way in, and at least be compete out there. Um, but the Rams and the Browns just kept dropping all the division games, and it just was tough. Um, Excuse me. There we go. But we'll go over to the bad surprises, the other letdown of the NFC. I'm gonna go with the Seattle Seahawks. I know they had a lot of hype this year. This is the first time in their franchise or not franchise in Russell Wilson's history that he will have a losing season in the NFL, and after like 10 seasons, very impressive that it took him this long. But with the amount of talent they had on the offensive end, I know the run game was looking it was very hard for the run game to go when Penny goes down with an ACL injury, Chris Carson goes down with an injury, and then there's a point where Russell Wilson hurt his finger for a little bit midseason, so you got that stretch where Geno Smith was playing, and it just wasn't the same. Um, and the Jamal Adams getting hurt, it's just tough. Um, and when you're already playing in a strong NFC West division, you gotta get those wins. And now they're sitting at the bottom while the other three teams are in the playoffs. So I think that there alone is a letdown in itself, I'd say. But Seattle, and there was talk, I know, early before the season started of possible Russell Wilson leaving, and now possible Pete Carroll wanting to go. So I don't know if that just has something to do, shaking up the locker room and whatnot. But if you have if your locker room ain't all there and all like in unity together, it's obviously going to show on the field. And I feel like this was part of an example like that. But yeah, those are my letdowns from the NFC and AFC. Hopefully next year they can get it together and hopefully turn it around. But that will just depend on the future of Baker Mayfield and Russell Wilson. So with that, we're gonna switch over to some season awards I have coming up. Um, so offensive rookie of the year, just gonna jump right into it. No brainer. Jamar Chase setting the records, going on a tear, having a 200+ yard game. In this season, I think he did it twice, but it just seemed like almost week in week out, this man was putting up 100 odd yards, and was just torching, scorching defenses. Um, and when you have this was the guy that a lot of people are clowning in the preseason because he said that the NFL football didn't have the white stripes on the outside, so it made it hard to catch. I remember that. That was, I don't know. He must have took that to heart. He took it personally, as Michael Jordan would say, and he he just ran off with it. Props to him. Um, so yeah, he takes home offensive rookie of the year, and move over to defensive player of the year, where I'm gonna go with T.J. Watt when he tied the all-time sack record for a season. That's an impressive feat, and what made it even more impressive is the fact that he did it in 15 games and not the full 17 games that he could have played. That's two games let off the table right there where he could have broken the record, but he didn't. And that's just, props to that right there. I know a lot of people will disagree and think Parsons should do it just because of how diverse his game is. I mean, you have your rights to think that. And so just very, very solid case. But it's just T.J. Watt for me. All right, so we move to coach of the year. This one I had to do some thinking for a little bit. But when you look down to it, you take a rookie quarterback and basically fill in the shoes of the GOAT. Yeah, that takes a lot of credit from the coach. I'm giving the coach here to Bill Belichick. Just the fact that he was even leading the division at one point. And it shows that Bill's a mastermind and helped make the whole rebuild process less than a year. Um, they were able to do poor that first year, get the right pick to go get Mac Jones, and surround him with just enough talent to be productive and see what Bill envisions, and it's pretty great. And it's how scary Mac Jones fills Tom Brady's shoes is pretty mind-boggling. It's like they're both productive, both accurate, both real smart, able to pick up on Bill's systems pretty solidly. Um, and the fact that it's just his first year really is really good. So shouts out to Bill Bell, and the fact that they don't have any one star besides Mac Jones on the offense. Harris is a solid running back, but he ain't no Pro Bowler. He's gonna go out there and get some solid yards and do his job. But at the end of the day, it's just a collective team effort. No, not one player really standing too far out. Um, so for comeback player of the year, we're gonna stay in the AFC. I'm gonna say Joe Burrow. He didn't get to play his full rookie season, doing hurting that ACL. And ACLs for some athletes can make or break you. Just the fact that he was able to come back out, and especially so early in your career, having such a devastating injury can hurt you mentally, but it didn't phase Joe. He has that swagger. We see him smoking the stogie after winning the division, and just coming with that real cocky, happy attitude, going out there and performing on the field, and just going all out. We're about to run through a wall for them, and I'm just gonna give it to Joe Burrow. Came out here and set some franchise records right after coming off the injury. So most comeback player of the year is Joe Burrow, and now most improved, I'm gonna go with the Bears' Robert Quinn. He also broke a record, and considering that he had single digit sacks last year, first year coming on the Bears on that new contract. It's just real, and on a line for half the season, we sharing with Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks, both people that go and get some sacks themselves. He was able to go out there and get his, and breaking a record that lasted, pretty close to 30 years. So that's real impressive right there. So my most improved goes to Robert Quinn. And finally, the Well, we got the offensive player of the year. I don't know how I passed on that, but I'm gonna go with Cooper Kupp. When you come 18 yards shy of breaking Megatron's record, and setting almost broke the reception record. He fell, I think, like four short to that. Almost, and he comes home with a triple wide receiving triple crown. That that's enough to win offensive player of the year right there. And now the MVP. This one is pretty tough. I wanted all my heart to give it to Jonathan Taylor until that last week when they just couldn't pull it off against the Colts. He didn't rush for 100 yards, and I don't think he got a touchdown. MVPs have to come away with that game, and he just wasn't able to go out and get it done on the road. I know it's not entirely all his fault, but let's say MVPs know when to take over, and he just didn't get enough to get it done. So my MVPs moved from Jonathan Taylor, and I'm gonna give it to Tom Brady, the oldest to win an regular season MVP. Man is 44 years old, out here just balling right now, and it's leading league in touchdown thrown and receptions. So when you're 44 years old and getting that done, that's crazy as it is. Um, Where'd it go? Yeah, my MVP goes to um, Tom Brady. Add another trophy to the GOAT case. Um, all right, so that's my season awards, and now we are gonna jump right into the playoffs, where we're gonna break down the first round right here. We have a little playoff bracket right here. Shout out to sportsbetting.com. Um, as we see in the AFC, we have Tennessee Titans getting the first round bye, and the NFC we have the Green Bay Packers. Um, Obviously, the lowest seed goes on to play Tennessee. Um, so I think we're gonna start in the AFC right here in this first matchup. We got the fourth seed Cincinnati Bengals at home to the fifth seed Las Vegas Raiders. Who do I have coming out this one? Well, I'm gonna have Cincinnati coming away this one. I feel like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have that connection. They're just so dynamic on the field, and when you have such a powerful passing game paired with such a powerful run game, offense is gonna get theirs. Derek Carr, the Raiders had their struggles all season on and off the field. I just feel like that's a tough position for him to be in. I feel like it should have been the Chargers, but like you can't change anything. But I'm gonna go with the Cincinnati winning 27-17, and moving on. And then we have the number 3 Buffalo Bills going against number 6 New England Patriots. Patriots are not in Foxborough for this off-season run, so that's already different for Bill Belichick. And this is the first game for Mac Jones in his rookie career. Also, the first playoff game for Joe Burrow. But Buffalo, they split. This is a AFC East, excuse me, classic showdown right here. They both split the series early on, so there's a lot to look into. Both defenses were neck and neck on the season too, so I'm expecting a pretty low scoring game. But due to the weather conditions, the first time that was the game where Mac Jones only threw the ball 3 times, and there were just all those runs. Now, unless it's gonna be in New York, might be a chance of snow. Keep a check on that weather, or we might have another game similar to the first one. But if weather forbids and holds up, I'm gonna go with Buffalo on this one. Let's give me 21-17. I think it's going to be a close one. Might come down to a score or less, but I'm going to go with Buffalo moving on, beating Bill in the first round of the playoffs. And then we move on to the final wild card spot. Number 2, Kansas City Chiefs playing Big Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kansas City is already one of the loudest stadiums next to Seattle. So it's going to be crazy. This is possibly Big Ben's last game. Um, so I saw a meme on Facebook earlier where it was an invitation with Kansas City, and it said, and you're invited to Big Ben's retirement party or some along those lines. So, but I'm gonna go with it. I feel like the Kansas big loophole in their team is their defense. I feel like Najee Harris is gonna have himself a game, but Big Ben is just not. In his last game, we saw where he was just not real. I don't want to say motivated, but he looks done. He looks like he's been done for about 2 to 3 years, and this is just one more stop. I do not see an upset. I think Kansas City wins 28-17. Final game of Big Ben's career, going out in at Arrowhead, so to end his career right there. So we're gonna take a look over on the NFC side where the Packers have the first round bye. We're gonna look at the first wild card round. The number 4 LA Rams going against NFC West rival Arizona Cardinals. Now this right here, I feel like is the biggest, most. I think this is gonna be the most interesting game. It's gonna be the most interesting game on the in the series. Excuse me. Sorry. So we got someone right here. So he wants to hop on the hot seat right now. But till then, we're gonna break down a little more. Rams, great defense. Arizona, great offense. And they're expected to possibly have J.J. Watt coming back. That's a huge. That'd be huge if they do. Great veteran presence on the field. Has a little playoff experience, which a lot of this team does not. It's gonna be playoff first. Also for Kyler Murray. We got Matthew Stafford, who it's not his first rodeo, but it's his second rodeo. Just not, it's just his first time on a complete team. I feel like playoffs defense really matters, and I feel like the Rams defense is just a little stronger. I know Kyle Murray's been playing a little banged up towards the end right there, so give me the Rams on winning. 20. Let's go 24-20. I feel like it's gonna be a low score, not a low scoring game, but close game. Excuse me. 24-20. I got the Rams, and then next we got the number 3 Dallas Cowboys with the number 6 San Francisco 49ers. This is a classic game right here. You got two historic teams with some of the most championships in NFL Super Bowls going against each other. Dallas offense has just been looking. It's been on a roll so far. Dak's just been showing out and balling out. We thought it was going to be Zeke was going to be the one that they should have ran the ball more, but now Dak's been out here darting up everyone, so that's good. This right here, I feel like Dallas shouldn't. They should definitely be worried, but I'm gonna go with they win. I'm sorry, Dad, but the 49ers are not gonna win this round. I think Dallas moves on. Right here, and we got the final round of the wild card matchup. Number 2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers going against the number 7 seed Philadelphia Eagles. And man, a lot of people, most people when they look at this, they're gonna really count out Philly, but this is also another first for quarterback Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith, who've been out here. I feel like since Jalen Waddle and Jamar Chase have been out here shining, I feel like Devontae Smith has really flown under the radar. and just it's hard. It's just hard when you can't when you're just overshadowed by such talents and like the fact that their records are better. But I'm still gonna go with Tampa Bay. Tom Brady's done this way too many times. He's got so much playoff experience. Um, and I'm just gonna roll with Tom Brady. The team's just phenomenal. Just well put together. Lots of offensive talent to match their defense. Um, but I feel like I'm gonna go. Oh, my iPad turned off. Excuse me. I'm gonna go. Give me Tampa Bay 35-21. A little higher scoring game. Um, I want to see Diggs pick off Tom Brady though at least once in this game, so hopefully that can happen. But that's your first round right there. I have an updated bracket next week, um, so hopefully we'll see how I go. I'm hoping 6 for 6, but we will see right there. This playoff weekend. Yeah. All right. So that's it for the NFL portion of this podcast. Let me know what NFL content you want heard, what you want to talk about, what you want to discuss. I'm all for it. But for then, we're going to move on to the hardwood NBA, um, where we've reached the midseason point, sort of, where All Star voting started. We're going to see the All Star break in about the next month or so. Um, we're reaching about that midpoint of the season, so we're going to take a look at the updates to see where teams are sitting at right now. We're going to start on the East, where my Chicago Bulls are sitting at the number one seed. We just had a 9-game streak snapped the other day to the Dallas Mavericks, but they're sitting up there at 26-11 record right now. The Nets, who just got Kyrie back, are 25-14. The Heat sitting at 25-15. Bucks at 4. 76ers, despite not having Ben Simmons, are 23-16 at the 5th seed. The Cavaliers, who have been struggling with their own injury problems, are sitting at the 6th seed. Raptors jump up. They were sitting at that 12th seed right before around Christmas time, but were able to go on an impressive 6-game win streak and to jump up to that 7th seed. Charlotte Hornets, who just had a game winner last night by LaMelo Ball, sitting at that 8th seed. And the bottom 2 seeds, the Wizards and Celtics, rounds it off right there for the play-in tournament. So right now these teams are out. The Knicks, Hawks, Pacers, Pistons, and Magic are all out of the play-in tournament as if it were to start today. I know if you're a Knicks fan, that's probably the biggest disappointment in the East right now. And I know they benched Kemba Walker there for a little bit, and he comes back and drops like 26 or some. Very productive, but they're just not. The Knicks are not playing like how they did a year ago. I don't know if Trey Young just did something to like mess with them mentally, knocking them off in the playoffs last year. I don't know if that just had something to do with it, but they just don't look the same. Same with, like I just said, the Hawks. They're down right below them. I know there's been talks of John Collins being frustrated with the front office, so he might need to see some trades coming up right there. And speaking of trades, the Pacers, right before Christmas, it came out saying that they want to revamp and rebuild. They have yet to do anything about it, but there's been a couple teams. I know the Timberwolves have been a team. I think the Knicks, or not the Knicks, the Kings, excuse me, were in talks to trade for Miles Turner. He's definitely a very solid piece. As a Bulls fan, I would like him on my squad, but I'm not the front office right now, so I can't do anything about that. But and then there's just a big jump between these last two teams, the Pistons. Cade Cunningham's been out here balling, but Jeremy Grant's been another piece that the Pistons have been trying to shop around. And I know the Bulls are one of the front-running teams that want to perhaps trade for him. Personally, I don't know if I would want to trade right now just because we're number one and we're, don't fix what's not broken. And they just, what's working's working. Um, so I don't know. We just ride it out. We still got a little time before the trade deadline ends. So we'll have to see what AK has in mind for the front office right there. But yeah, this is your Eastern Conference standings right here. We're going to take a look and go over to the West, where the Warriors are still in number one, battling it out with the Suns, who just been going back and forth between that 1 and 2 spot right there. Jazz and Grizzlies is now getting Ja Morant back, gone on a 9-game win streak and have that fourth seed right there. The Mavericks got a 6-game win streak of their own at the 5th seed. Nuggets down at the 6th seed. Lakers are able to jump up to that 7th seed right there after winning 4 of their last 5, having LeBron James at center. Timberwolves are at the 8th seed. 9th seed have the Clippers, and to round off the playoff bracket right there would be the Trailblazers at the 10th seed. Spurs, Kings, Pelicans, Thunder, and Rockets all missing out right there. Zion Williams still has yet to play this season. At this point, I think you almost have to sit out the rest of the season. I know we're halfway through, but if you look at your team, they're two games out from that 10th seed of making the playoff bracket itself. And when you're in that bracket, it's already a challenge because you got to go through more comp to get to the playoffs. So at this point, I feel like you just need to rest, get in shape. I know we saw Zion looking, not the most in shape person. So I feel like that, he should take some time off to get himself game ready. And especially a report coming out now that the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard's ACL injury is a little quicker than what they expected, and it could make a return after the All-Star break. That is huge because I'm a Kawhi Leonard fan myself, and I feel like that him coming back will really well push this Clippers seed. I feel like they can move up to like that 6th or 7th seed. I don't know if they'll go break the top 5 or not, just because it's the second half of the season and there's a lot of ground to make up. Even though there's only 2 games separating the 5th and 9th seed. So that last bottom half is very close. So actually they could maybe shoot up to that 5th seed if something works out. But Kawhi Leonard is just a franchise guy. Is someone who's going to get you 20 points and almost maybe 10 rebounds, distribute the ball quite a bit. Best two-way player in the game. So I feel like that's going to be a big push right there. And, I'm pretty excited. We got like the Rockets, who are like the Pistons in the West, down at the bottom. Got a great young guard in Jalen Green, who's just a killer already, man. He's already just lethal. Shooting it behind the arch, making game winners. Very athletic. We've all seen him. Got some poster dunks this year. And he's very, very energetic. There's a lot of good rookies out here in this class, but I feel like Jalen Green had a chance to win Rookie of the Year. But that's for a later talk right there. But yeah, like I said, we got some NBA players that have made the comeback. Isaiah Thomas was another big name who was in the G League. They had a showcase out in Las Vegas right before Christmas. He went out and dropped, I think, 45 points and had an insane game. He was able to get a contract on the Lakers, where he was able to go out off the bench, drop 19, and get a good win against Minnesota. Very promising right there. And then, just like out of the blue, the Lakers cut off, didn't sign his next 10-day contract, where he immediately was picked up by Dallas, and now he does not. He got put on COVID protocol, and I don't think Dallas is going to sign him back, which is a shame because man is still a bucket. He can still go out there and get, go out and get his. So I don't think he'll be out the NBA too long. Some team with lack of depth guard and with all the COVID going around, a lot of these players are gonna, they'll find room for him. A lot of G League players coming up. Another person that got signed is Greg Monroe, a name you haven't heard since the 2018-19 season. He signed a 10-day contract with the Washington Wizards. My man Boogie Cousins, DeMarcus Cousins, he was signed by the Milwaukee Bucks. He played about 2 or 3 games, had himself some production, getting like 10 points and some critical boards. Played some great defense. He signed 2 10-day contracts, but then ended up getting cut there, and now is being picked up of another 10-day by the Nuggets, who let go or traded away Bol. Big sad about that too. But I feel like Boogie and the Joker definitely have similar styles of play. Um, I see a lot of Cousins in Jokic, um, of his past, and obviously Jokic taking better care of his body and got developed a way better jumper. Um, but I feel like Boogie was the first Jokic, and Jokic just perfected the craft. Another person that returned is Lance Stevenson on the Pacers, who came in off the bench and had himself a 30 piece. 30 piece. That's crazy, and they want to keep him. I know the Pacers not looking the best, so any spark of offense they can get off the bench, I'm sure they will take. So I'm glad to see these players coming back. It's more than just the vets. Finally, since 2019, Klay Thompson is back as he has first game back event against the Cavaliers, where he dropped 17 and had himself some critical points in his last game. I even saw him go out there and catch a body on a dunk. So it's safe to say that even though it was long, the process was tedious. A lot of Warriors fans really wanted him back. He took the time, took good care of his body, and now he's in great condition. It's like especially from a hard Achilles tear like that, that is it's lengthy to recover and very mentally draining. But I'm just happy to see him back. And what's crazy, the Warriors are the number 1 seed. They've been doing this all without Klay Thompson, so that they are very, very scary right now. And Kyrie Irving, with all the COVID dilemmas that he's been through, played his first game against the Pacers, who had himself 22, and then he got himself another 22 piece against the Blazers. That's a great, considering the Nets are the number 2 seed. It's like the Warriors. They've been they're up there in the standings without their number 2 guy. So I know a lot of people are like pretty confused or controversial, like who's gonna go off. But we'll just see what they did last year. Barring if they can stay healthy, they know how to play together, and that's what's the scariest part. That they know who can go off when, and they all know they build off each other's strengths. So if the NBA, if the lack of defense there is in the NBA today, they're just gonna go out and go get buckets. So they're gonna be a scary Eastern threat. But all these players come back. There's still one big person that has yet to make their comeback, and that's Ben Simmons. I don't know what is going to go on with him. The trade deadline is going to be coming up here soon, and there's been talks all season, all off season, about him getting traded or leaving, and nothing's happened. He's getting fined so much money. It's just, do something. I know there's been some trades declined, and one is because they're just asking too much for him. So of course they're going to decline it. But the fact is, they're so focused on getting rid of him, but they're not making better efforts. Or if they're just so want to get rid of him so bad, just let him go, cut him. I don't know. There's just a lot going on with him, and hopefully we'll see some move get made before the NBA trade deadline. But we'll keep you updated on that. Yeah. So to close it off here, we're gonna look. I'm gonna use my Bulls with Beagles segment. As you all know, I'm a huge diehard Bulls fan, Bears fan. But NFL season's done. We don't talk about the Bears now. So we move on to the Bulls, where they are the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference right now. Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan are on a tear right now. 2 of the top 5 NBA scorers. And DeMar DeRozan possibly being a top 3 MVP candidate, was dubbed by GMs the worst offseason signing this year, is now out here getting buckets and shooting a lot better from the 3-point arch. I know a week or so ago he had back-to-back game winners, being the first NBA player to hit back-to-back game-winning threes in consecutive days. And DeMar's not known for his three-point shots. So see him out here. He shot 60% in the month of December, and now I know he's not being like Steph Curry and taking 15 threes a game, but it's just the fact that he's actually taking threes and actually making them makes me very happy, and it really opens up the floor a little bit more so he can get to that mid-range sweet spot that he's good at. Um, and he's just surrounded by talent, lots of bench talent, lots of starter talent. Everything's well coached. Everything's a well-oiled machine put together, and I am excited. I am ecstatic, and I hope. Part of me wants to go through with that trade on Jeremy Grant. I feel like that might be the piece. So like when the playoff comes, when the playoff comes, we need a solid big. And Vucevic, he go gets his rebounds, but he's just a little soft on the defensive side sometimes. And Jeremy Grant just offers that defensive, hard nosed style that we really need. Um, so hopefully our front office makes some moves like that. But we're gonna take a look at the Bulls' next five. We got at home versus Detroit, which I feel like we get a win right there. One of the bottom seeds right there. We're gonna go out to Boston to play the Celtics. I feel like that's another dub right there. Then we're on the road to Memphis to play the Grizzlies. On the road, it's gonna be tough. Grizzlies are on fire. I don't think we win that one. And then we come back home for Cleveland, which I feel can get a dub right there, and go out to OKC. So we had a pretty next five. The games are pretty light. I see us going 4-1 at best scenario, possibly 5-0, but I'm leaning more towards the 4-1 right there. So I guess we'll see this time next week what they go, but I'm going with their 4-1. And yeah, so that is all the time we have today for the drive. This is the first episode on Colorcast app. If you have an Apple product, go out and download Colorcast and follow me and all these other great casters out there. They got many sports. But yeah, this is the first episode of the drive, and we will catch you all next week here on this app. And thank you all. Tune in, go like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you all next time.